Welcome to the Deep Dive English Podcast.
Today we're tackling some really significant global situations, specifically the conflict between Israel and Hamas, and also the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah, heavy topics, absolutely.
They are serious, we know that, but our aim here is twofold, really. We want to help you gain crucial insights into these events, but also, and this is key for you, our listener, enhance your English skills.
Right, by understanding the actual language used to discuss these complex situations.
Exactly.
So the mission for this deep dive, if you like, isn't just covering the terrible human cost and the complicated geopolitics. It's also about giving you the tool, the vocabulary, the concepts you need to understand things more clearly, more deeply.
Think of it as a shortcut, maybe, to being well-informed and boosting your English at the same time.
Precisely. A practical guide.
And to do this, we've gathered analyses, reports, focusing on the human stories, the way things are changing on the ground.
Looking beyond just the headlines.
Yes. Connecting words to, real understanding. And hey, if you find this deep dive useful,
Which we hope you do.
please do give it a like and maybe subscribe to the Deep Dive English podcast over on YouTube.
We're always adding more content like this, global insights, practical English.
Okay, so before we get into the specifics of the conflicts, let's build up your toolkit, your vocabulary toolkit.
Yeah, having the right words is essential for navigating these complex topics.
It really is. These terms, they're not just abstract words. They are the building blocks for, understanding the news and having meaningful conversations.
That's such a crucial point. Knowing what these words really mean lets you go deeper than just surface level.
Lets you analyze, question.
Exactly. And articulate your own thoughts, which for any advanced English learner, that's invaluable, right?
Totally. Okay, let's start with the basic one. Conflict. It's a noun.
Right. A serious disagreement, maybe an arms struggle.
Yeah.
Often the start of something bigger.
Yeah, think like two countries having a conflict over land or water. A dispute.
Which, without careful handling, could. Well, it could escalate. We'll get to that verb later.
Good point. And that often leads to war. Also a noun.
This is bigger,
Yeah.
more organized, large-scale fighting between countries or, major groups, soldiers' weapons, sustained combat.
So a conflict might be contained, but a war, that's extensive, devastating.
Yeah, you often hear people say the war changed everything.
And sadly, wars often lead to a humanitarian crisis. That's our next term, a noun.
A really tough one. This describes a situation where lots of people desperately need help.
Help like food, water, medicine, shelter.
Usually because of war or maybe a natural disaster.
Yeah.
A massive problem needing urgent response.
Picture, say, after a huge earthquake.
A terrible humanitarian crisis unfolds. Needs immediate aid.
And during these crises, people often become displaced. That's an adjective.
Describes people forced out of their homes. It's just too dangerous to stay.
They lack a safe place to live.
Right. And our sources mention this constantly. Millions becoming displaced, sometimes over and over again. It's a stark picture of, lost stability.
Yeah, uncertain futures. Okay, next word, geopolitical, an adjective.
This one's key for understanding the bigger picture. It links geography, so location, resources with politics.
How governments interact, how power works on a global scale.
Exactly. It looks at how a country's location, its power, affects its relationships with other countries, its influence.
So when people talk about the geopolitical situation or the geopolitical chessboard,
They mean how global powers are maneuvering, often based on strategic locations, alliances, resources. Very complex stuff.
it is. Now, to try and solve these issues peacefully, we have diplomacy, a noun.
This is the work governments do. Talking, negotiating, trying to find peaceful solutions.
It's the art of dialogue, really. Finding common ground.
Often behind closed doors. Good diplomacy, ideally, can prevent wars, or at least help end them.
And one outcome of diplomacy in a conflict might be a ceasefire, noun again.
Right. A temporary agreement. A pause in the fighting.
Often badly needed.
Like, everyone hoped the ceasefire would last, maybe to let aid in. It offers a bit of hope.
It does. Okay, another tool, often economic. Sanctions. Usually plural, it's a noun.
These are official penalties, usually economic ones.
Stopping trade.
Exactly. Or freezing assets. One country or a group puts them on another country. To pressure them, usually, to change their behavior.
So the country faced sanctions because of its actions. It's a way to act without direct military force.
Correct. Now, something essential for any society. Infrastructure. Noun.
This is all the basic stuff a country needs to function, right?
Roads, bridges, electricity grids, water pipes, communication networks, the fundamentals.
So if you hear the city's infrastructure was badly damaged,
It means daily life becomes incredibly difficult, almost impossible. Rebuilding that takes huge effort.
okay, last one for now, escalate. This is a verb.
It means to become more intense, more serious, bigger.
It captures that worrying trend when conflicts get worse.
Yeah. The fighting might escalate if they don't find a solution soon. It always signals a deepening crisis.
Okay, fantastic. That's a really solid vocabulary toolkit.
Hopefully that helps you, our listeners, follow along more easily.
Definitely. So let's use these words now. Let's deep dive into the Israel-Hamas conflict first.
Right. This started, or rather erupted intensely, back in October 2023.
And tragically, here we are in July 2025, and it's still ongoing, causing just immense suffering.
And what the sources we looked at really highlight are the shifting dynamics. There was that short ceasefire, remember? It ended back in March 2025.
Right, didn't last long.
No. And since then, the fighting in Gaza, just relentless intensity, widespread destruction, terrible loss of life.
And there was that worrying development mentioned in the June 2025 report.
Yes, exactly. Reports suggesting direct military actions involving not just Israel and Hamas, but also Iran and even the U.S.
So it was widening.
It seems to be escalating regionally. The sources talk about it potentially becoming or already being a form of proxy war.
Where bigger powers use local groups to fight indirectly.
Precisely. Which makes finding a clear resolution incredibly challenging.
And the human cost, the humanitarian crisis. It's hard to even comprehend the scale.
It is. UN reports, aid groups, they all paint a devastating picture.
Thousands of Palestinians killed.
And almost 2 million people displaced. Think about that. Nearly 2 million forced from their homes, often moving again and again within Gaza.
Just trying to survive day to day. Finding food, clean water, medicine.
It's a constant, desperate struggle. We're seeing reports of widespread malnutrition, especially hitting children hard.
Plus the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Hospitals, schools, decimated.
Absolutely. And trying to get aid in is incredibly dangerous. Establishing safe humanitarian corridors is a huge challenge because of the ongoing fighting.
And the geopolitical effects. This isn't just contained, is it?
Not at all. It's creating huge instability across the Middle East.
We're seeing other groups getting involved?
Yes. Groups like the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, their actions add significantly to the regional tension. It increases the risk of it all escalating much further.
So where does diplomacy stand in all this?
Well, there are talks, efforts happening behind the scenes, but the core demands from both sides, they're just fundamentally opposed on many issues.
Like sovereignty, land.
Exactly. Deep historical issues, claims over territory. Yeah. It makes a lasting peace agreement seem very, very difficult right now. Intractable almost.
A very grim picture. Okay, let's shift focus now from the Middle East to Eastern Europe, the Russia-Ukraine war.
Another major ongoing conflict. Started February 2022, now well into its third year.
And the impact. It's reshaped global security, energy, economies, everything, really.
Yeah, the situation on the front lines.
Yeah.
Still incredibly intense, fierce fighting.
It's become a war of attrition, hasn't it?
Very much so. Both sides pouring in vast resources. The tactics have evolved too. Drones, complex trench warfare. It's a long, hard, tragic war.
Quick end insight.
Doesn't seem like it, no. Shows the sheer endurance, I suppose, of modern conflict.
And again, the deep human cost. The humanitarian crisis.
Just heartbreaking. Millions of Ukrainians displaced. Huge numbers of refugees in other countries. Millions more are displaced within Ukraine.
Uprooted, uncertain.
Exactly. And the damage to cities, towns, the infrastructure again. Homes, hospitals, schools, just flattened in many places.
So there's a massive need for aid, for rebuilding.
Desperate need. Plus ongoing concerns about prisoners of war, how they're treated. Another layer to this crisis.
Let's talk about the global consequences, the geopolitical shifts.
Huge, especially for European security. Countries are really focused on defense now.
Spending more. Strengthening alliances like NATO.
Definitely. NATO's seen a kind of renewed purpose, more unity in response to the perceived threat. It's a tangible shift in global power dynamics.
And beyond security. Food, energy.
Big impacts there, too. Ukraine's a major global food producer, a breadbasket. The war hit exports hard.
Causing global food prices to rise.
Yes, and energy, too. Disruptions from Russia, a major supplier, caused big swings in energy prices worldwide. It really shows how interconnected everything is.
One regional conflict having massive global ripples.
Absolutely. And then there's the international support for Ukraine. Financial aid, weapons, mostly from Western countries.
Plus the sanctions on Russia.
Strong sanctions, yes, aimed at pressuring Russia to stop, though, the long-term effectiveness is still debated.
So amidst all this, what about diplomacy? Is there any path towards peace?
Efforts are ongoing, certainly. Behind-the-scenes talks happen.
But a full peace agreement seems elusive.
Very challenging. The core disagreements, territory, sovereignty, political power, they remain major obstacles.
So talks often focus on smaller things. Temporary ceasefires, prisoner exchanges.
Often, yes, which are vital, of course, for immediate relief. But they don't resolve the underlying conflict. It's a slow, painstaking process. Reconciling these deep-seated positions is just incredibly hard.
So bringing these two situations together, Israel-Hamas, Russia-Ukraine, geographically separate but connected.
Deeply connected. Through the human suffering, through the complexities of international diplomacy.
They show how local events can escalate, how they ripple outwards, affecting all of us.
And that really underscores why understanding this stuff matters for you as an English learner.
Right. It's not just about knowing facts.
No. It helps you engage with news, with discussions, in English on a much deeper level.
It gives real-world context to the vocabulary we talked about.
Exactly. You see, it's not just about memorizing words like geopolitical or ceasefire. It's about using them to understand and talk about the complex world we actually live in.
That practical application that makes the learning stick, makes your English more powerful.
Absolutely.
And that's really what we aim for here at the Deep Dive English podcast on YouTube.
So if this deep dive helped you,
please give it a like. It really helps us know what's useful for you. And subscribe to the channel
for more deep dives that break down complex topics and boost your English.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really hope this exploration of these critical global events has been insightful.
And boosted your English confidence and understanding.
Remember, learning English, it's a journey. Every step, every word, every concept you grasp, it all counts.
Keep at it.
Okay, now it's over to you. Your turn. We want you to think about what we've discussed, maybe answer these questions out loud, or jot down some notes, or discuss with someone.
Good practice.
First, we talked about humanitarian crises and displacement. Beyond basic survival like food and water, what do you think is the single most urgent other need for people forced from their homes by war?
Good question. Thinking about daily life.
Second, how might the global geopolitical shifts from these conflicts affect your country? Maybe its policies, its economy, even if it seems far away.
Think about news coverage, prices, maybe even ideas about security.
Third, diplomacy can lead to a ceasefire. But what's the biggest challenge, in your opinion, for diplomats trying to get a lasting peace, not just a temporary pause?
What makes that final step so hard?
And fourth, a practical one. From today's deep dive, pick one new vocabulary word or phrase, just one, and make a plan to actively use it this week. Until next time.
Keep listening, keep learning.
And keep curious.
Thanks for diving deep with us.